following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Nine rounds down, 3 rounds to go. When it comes to the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship, there has been a lot of exciting action throughout the entire season. Today, we head to a brand new circuit for the series, VIR, in Alton, Virginia, United States. But first things first, let's check out the action that happened last time at the Indianapolis road course.
It's green and it's underway, and it's a checkup at the start. Zelensky with nowhere to go dives to the inside. We're 4 wide as we head towards turn number 1. Kamets with a good shot over everybody else. Zelensky diving down to the inside, and it's Leary on the outside trying to go through. Clampett does very, very well as well in the 44. He holds on to it through turn number 2. In Cockrell, Clampett now having to make a recovery drive through the field, as we've seen so many times out of him in the NASCAR Peak Anti-Free Series. Clampett around the outside at turn number 3. He's not a boy even. He's not able to do it through 5. He still holds it inside line for 6 for the number 44, and he will hold the position. Race leader in Sven Kamets, also in Marco Mogren. This gives Bobby Zelensky the race lead. Now will come to Kamets as he gets himself back into the race lead, as he has needed to do time and time again. Through will go O'Leary as well, and Bobby Zelensky no better than 4th. A battle also going on, 23 and 46, 2 wide, Kuratov and James King. Kuratov trying to go around the outside through 12 and through 13. He's going to try and go low and pitch the man down low to the curb, but King's going to be there all the way. Side draft your way up there, but he's got not much to work with. Back into line he goes. Marco Mogren then, 1 shot remaining. It's the white flag as Mogren hopes to find some way to make the move. He hits the back bumper. He looks to try and give him a shot, and he doesn't quite find it yet. Then Kamets will pick up his first race win of the season, vitally with his championship challenge as well, to take 2nd in the championship and move to VIR with the momentum.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Virginia International Raceway for tonight's coverage of the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship for round 10 of 12 of the 2018 season. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me is Paul Smith in the broadcast booth as we're here at this beautiful 3.2 mile circuit. A total of 19 laps today, with the weather at 82 degrees Fahrenheit with a high humidity of 82%. With partly cloudy skies, average track temperature today on this tight track, 112 degrees. As mentioned, we're entering the final 3 rounds of the 2018 season, with Mid-Ohio and Bathurst coming up on the schedule. The challenges continue on with today's race, with this series heading to VIR for the first time. Heading into today's race, Bobby Zelensky has been dominant for much of the season, leading the point standings with 734 points. With Sven Kamets coming off his first win of his career in the V8 SuperTrucks Championship, 676 points in total. Followed by Marco Mogren, Eric Blixt, and Logan Clampett. Justin Kuratov, James King, Wade Hayes, Daniel Thompson, and Diego Melro round out the top 10 for the championship standings with a couple rounds to go. There's also been a lot of very competitive teams for the 2018 season. Why don't we take a quick peek involving those drivers and teams rather in the standings. Radicals Online is coming off a 1-2-3 in the last race, leading the championship standings for the team side with 666 points. Slip Angle Motorsports, Lempos Racing, Off Camber Motorsports, and Workabout Kinetic Racing round out the top 5 with Team Bushfink Racing, Team Mads Entries, Race Clutch, and Torque Freak Racing Blanchimont rounding out the top 10 for the championship standings so far for the teams. Of course, there are 2 other championships when it comes to this series. The Manufacturers Championship is one of those. Chevrolet leads those standings 834 points over Toyota's 792. And last things first, it is the road versus oval standings. Leading that is the road side with 846 points with 776 total oval point standings heading into the final 3 rounds starting off today. But with that, it's time for what should be a very competitive race. Qualifying is underway with about 4 minutes to go. The average lap times here for today ranging along the 150 to 154 second mark. To the left side of your screen now are the 4 drivers who have recorded time so far, with Bobby Zelensky up at the top of the board by just 2/100ths of a second, just underneath 3/100ths, with Sven Kemmerts, Thomas O'Leary, and Eric Blixt in the top 4, with Marco Mulgren looking to change that as he heads down the front straightaway. And does he record the time? This time a 1:50.431. That slots him into 3rd. But with that, I bring in my broadcast partner for today, Paul Smith. Paul, glad to have you here in the booth today for what is going to be a very competitive race.
Yes, hello everybody. Hope you're all enjoying your Saturday afternoon, evening, wherever you are. This should be an absolute cracker of a race around what is a very tricky circuit. 11 drivers taking part today, and they're going to have a challenge on their hands, that's for sure. And with the track temperature being so warm as well, it's going to be all about who best looks after those tyres, as we're currently having a look at James King going down the straightaway, heading towards the roller coaster at the end of the lap.
Yeah, you're following along with James King as you can see him from our cockpit view as he heads down one of the fast straightaways to try and record a qualifying time. This heads into the roller coaster, quick left, then a shot towards the right, and then another quick couple left-hand turns before you head towards the hog pen and towards the front straightaway. But there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the circuit today, especially with some of the challenges we might see with some of the drivers, including the horseshoe with turn 1, the NASCAR bend with turn 3, along with turns 4 through 6, as well as the uphill S's, and of course, as mentioned, the roller coaster.
Yeah, it's I would say one of the most challenging corners on this course is actually NASCAR bend, turn number 3. Left-hander. It's a deceiving corner. It's a lot tighter than you actually expect it to be, so it catches a lot of drivers out. They usually end up into the grass on the outside there. This is another one, South Bend. We're just seeing Logan Clampin heading around at the moment on his flying lap here, and heading into Oak Tree. But that corner is crucial because you've got to carry as much speed on the exit that to carry the speed in your truck all the way down this back straightaway. And this is where we'll see people try and utilise the draft heading into the roller coaster.
We absolutely will. As mentioned, the average lap times around the 1:50 to 1:54 mark in practices and in qualifying so far. James King currently the slowest time with about a minute, just under a minute and 30 seconds to go in the qualifying section. But of course, with the real world for the VIR circuit right now, currently at this moment, the SVRA American Racing Legends Charity Pro-Am race is headlining for today for the Heatcock Classic Gold Cup for the historic races this weekend from September 21st to 23rd. A beautiful road course, of course, to have it in Alton, Virginia, with many big drivers taking part in the Charity Pro-Am feature race, including Bill Elliott, Bobby Labonte, Greg Biffle, Al Unser Jr., Ward Burden, and as well many different other drivers, Paul.
Yeah, it's absolutely great that this charity event is taking part this weekend. Hope we'll have a safe and eventful races this weekend. I've got the race on some money for charity as well. Alan Jr. I used to. My introduction to him was when Nigel Mansell came over to IndyCar back in 1993. That's when I first saw Alan Jr. racing. So yeah, that's certainly one of the big names that the biggest name for myself personally that I pick out of that group of individuals there. As we're looking at Sven Kamatz really struggling through that final turn there, and in fact that's going to be the end of your qualifying.
A total of 7 drivers, just 7 of the 11 total entries for today, putting in lap times, as it's time to look at your starting grid for round number 10. Marco Mogren's going to start on the pole today with a 150.431, able to edge Bobby Zalenski by about a full tenth of a half. Then Sven Kamertz is in row 2 along with Thomas O'Leary in the 4th spot today. In row 3, it'll be Eric Blixt alongside Logan Clampett, with James Kane being the final truck to record a qualifying time. John Allen will start the drivers with no set qualifying times, followed by Martin Kapal. Shane Hunter is listed on there, Daniel Thompson and Justin Krutov. When it comes to Shane Hunter, he did have a situation involving family members, unfortunate for him, involving his children. In looking now that he is elected to run in today's race in the number 927 truck.
That's good to see him out there, able to take part. We wish him children all the best, because you never want to have your children feel unwell. So definitely, it's good to see him though out in this field here today. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We're going to get a full pace lap here as well. So these trucks will want to go as slowly as possible to conserve those tyres, those Goodyear tyres here, to be able to get to the end of this race, or to at least get to their pit stop, should I say, because of course mandatory tyre change in this series, Justin, and these guys, the strategy does come into play here.
And we'll talk about that a lot, of course. Currently a 19-lap race today, with the pit window that you're discussing here around laps 5 to 16. So you have to pit for tires within that window. You do not necessarily have to pit for the fuel as well. But with that, we'd like to also mention, as the drivers get rolling, that one of the main awards for today and for every week is the Hard Charger Award. With each round, iAnalyze Racing gives a 1-month free subscription to the Hard Charger of the race. Fans will get to pick between 2 non-podium drivers who are not subject to penalty. That involves the biggest mover, the greatest positive change in position, and the most exciting driver, who's the most exciting drive finishing in the top 10 at or above their starting lowest race position, which will then be decided each race, where you, the fans, get to vote on who you think will get the hard-earned Hard Charger Award. That fan vote will take place via the SOR Facebook page after the race. With that, once again, to vote on the Hard Charger Award after today's action, go to SOR's Facebook page. Last week, it was Justin Krutov, the most exciting driver, who ended up winning the fan vote to get the Hard Charger Award. Of course, right now the drivers working about a quarter way through the racetrack now. Some of the drivers that are also having some onboard cameras today, Justin Krutov and James Kane, are the 2 drivers wearing helmet cameras for today that are streaming alongside today's broadcast on this very tough racetrack. A track that started in 1957, has had a lot of history and sees some good racing in multiple different series, Paul.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic track. Really good, and it's I just want to correct you, by the way, regarding the Hard Charger. It's now just the most positions gained, or just the lower. I'll get Stephen to correct it. There has been a slight change to the Hard Charger Award after last round, but yeah, definitely there has been a slight change, so we'll confirm that throughout the race. But we do encourage the viewers here to get involved in the choice of the Hard Charger Award. So make sure for the most exciting driver, get involved on the chat and get that one brought up here. So it's just the most exciting driver in the field here today. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting event. I'm looking forward to this race. 12 trucks on your grid. It's going to be an interesting one because Bobby Zalenski's not going all his way into the end of this season.
Yeah, remember Bobby Zalenski, he had been dominant at some points. He's got a total coming into this round of 7 wins, 8 poles. Last race being the first of them not on a podium, in fact, for him in 2018 for Zalenski. And when talking before back in around May and June, this was one of the tracks he was looking most forward to because he's never raced at Virginia International Raceway in the iRacing service. He'll start them off on the left side of the front row. Marco Mogren will start on the right side as the pace car dodges off the racetrack as they move down the front straightaway. Waiting for the green flag up at the stand. We're off and away for round number 10 of the V8 SuperTrucks Championship. And a good start there from Mogren on the inside line. Mogren going to dodge his way, bubble his way around as he gets very loose. Bumps into the side of Bobby Zalenski. Zalenski punches his way through. And Zalenski works his way towards the NASCAR bend.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for Mogren. His teammate as well got all locked up. Sven Kemertz got locked up into that horseshoe corner. Really difficult for them on those cold Goodyear tyres. Trying to look after them so those tyres won't be up to optimum temperature. Zalenski runs wide, and that means that he's just going to drop back from your leader.
And he's losing a bit of momentum too because of that missed opportunity, dropping back by about a couple tenths as they work their way up through the S's towards the South Bend and towards the Oak Tree. As you follow along board now with Thomas O'Leary from Radicals Online, watches as one of the Radicals Online trucks goes into the grass. That would be Sven Kemertz, who won out the Brickyard last round, who is trying to still hold on to the 3rd spot, but they're dropping back quickly to that top 2.
Yeah, so already that front 2, as you mentioned, just pulling away from the rest of your field. The rest of your field's still running here, so that's really good to see how everybody's able to carry on at the start. It's a green start. We want to see this race finish under green conditions as well. We've got battling a little bit further down, John Allen and Matt Capel. That's battle for 8th and 9th as well. So we have got battles on the way through your field. Bobby Zalenski though just dropping back here. He's now half a second behind as they're going to come across the stripe for the first time in this race.
Crossing the line, Marco Mogren will lead lap 1 of 19 for round 10. As you continue to see, Zalenski's trying to keep up with Mogren. Mogren this time doesn't bounce around through the horseshoe as they exit said horseshoe and into the NASCAR bend. Of course, the horseshoe will be one of the more bigger opportunities to try and make a pass today as Zalenski bobbles his way around the NASCAR bend and loses some more speed. This could cost him about a 10th.
Yeah, he's just struggling with that truck. He's carrying on though here and able to keep going. So he's able to keep it in 2nd place, but he's dropped down now 7/10 of a second behind your leader. The 2 Radicals cars behind him pretty close together with Logan Clampett just hanging around behind them as well. So Clampett starting to put the pressure on those 2 Radicals drivers of O'Leary and Kemertz. Oh, it's and
Logan Clampett, in fact, as you just said there, went wide. That was working his way to the exit of South Bend as they pass by the Oak Tree. That loses him a lot of speed. Also holds up Eric Blixt a little bit. As you see now, they drop a lot of time because of that slight off-course situation for Logan Clampett.
Yep, does lose that little bit of time. Still able to keep going, and he's ahead of Eric Blixt there, so no pressure from behind. Shane Hunter has headed back to pit road. So obviously something's happened for him. We'll try and get a replay up here. He obviously didn't get much practice because of family circumstances, and he was coming through the S's there. and I'm wondering if something's just happened and he's had to pull over. Yeah, he's had to pull over there. So it was good to see him get involved in this race. But I'm afraid he's no longer in this one. I will say though, Bobby Zalenski now, look at him, he's dropping back. And he's now 1.4 seconds behind your race leader.
Yeah, in terms of last time by as well with the lap time, it was a 151.3 for Marco Mogren, just a 152.1 for Bobby Zalenski. As you see the interval up on the bottom side of your screen now, is he's now going to also have to worry about defending the position a little bit because Ben Kammertz and Thomas O'Leary have been keeping up the pace from behind as he's continuing to lose track position to Mogren, now up to 1.8 seconds as they head up the S's.
Yeah, it's 1.8 seconds to the leader, but it's getting closer and closer to the trucks behind. So Zalenski under pressure here. So I'm under pressure at Indianapolis. Going into Oaktree once again, trying to get the run out of the corner. And Kammertz getting the good exit there. He's trying to get with them under the draft. Trying to close that gap, and at the moment Kammertz just not close enough to make any moves, but he needs to keep in this area just to keep the pressure on Zalenski.
And you continue to follow along with Kammertz as, again, as you see, the interval is about half a second, and Kammertz is taking the corners much differently compared to Zalenski, as you can see. Zalenski going a bit more towards the outside of the corner of the exits, using the curves to bounce the truck around as it's a very... And he's got the one.
That is fantastic from Kammertz, not able to quite make it work though. So Zalenski, we've seen it on board, he's really under pressure from Sven here, head towards turn 1.
And Zalenski really bounced off the curves. That sent him this battle up into the horseshoe. Kammertz trying to get something together in one of the best passing zones on the racetrack. Couldn't get to the right rear quarter panel as they head now to the NASCAR bend. But Zalenski has struggled to the NASCAR bend. That can open up the door for Kammertz as he has to check up for Zalenski and loses some time.
Yeah, that's it's amazing how that can all just concertina up there for you. You can see the different lines, as you were mentioning earlier, Justin. Different lines from the two drivers. So, I don't think that's quite the ideal line there, Sven, but keeps it kind of on the track there, using the grass, using everything you can as we look at this aerial coverage brought to you by Anglo Designs. But definitely, this is the closest battle on track at the moment. Capel further down is involved in the battle with Daniel Thompson, but we'll keep an eye on this one because hanging around, not that far behind, is Clampett and Blixt.
Yeah, everyone's looking to try and take advantage of mistakes. As you see now, it's about 0.2 of a second and closing now for Kammertz on Bobby Zalenski. Mogren's meanwhile checked out to a 3-second lead in front. You can see Kammertz, the last time by, gained 0.7 of a second after losing some time in the first initial laps. Tries to keep up with the draft of Zalenski as they work their way into the roller coaster. Zalenski with the defensive line, Kammertz taking the more natural line, as Bobby Zalenski using a bit more gas to try and meet that line, but that hurts him here as they work through the hog pen. As you see, bounces around on the curves. This balances the truck a little bit and allows Kammertz to get a bit of a run. This time, though, cannot close up any time really on the back of Bobby Zalenski. This time by a 1/10 of a second slower than Zalenski with Kammertz.
Yeah, we've seen how Kammertz seems to be doing well through the slower corners, and again through this first section, this is where Sven gets a really good run compared to Bobby, but Bobby, he can afford to be a little bit defensive around here because there's not really room to go.
Hold on 1 sec. It looks like Kammertz gone to the back of Zalenski through the NASCAR bend, trying to check up as they work their way to the left hook and the snake. And that has really slowed down Kammertz, and now he's giving space. Take a look at the Race Spot TV replay. Once again, you can see here, he's getting a bit of a run, and then Zalenski, who has struggled through the NASCAR bend, ends up making contact. That damages the front bumper, just a slight touch, crinkles that up on the left front.
It certainly does. Just that little slight bit of contact has just, as you say, crinkled up that front end. And Thomas O'Leary behind it, the teammates, but right now he's getting a little bit impatient because here comes Logan Clampett involved in this one. So Kemets dropping back to 8 tenths of a second behind Zelensky, but look behind now. You've got a queue of trucks here, and Clampett, he's chomping at the bit. He wants it, and he wants to get that 4th place from Thomas O'Leary.
Pits are now going to be open this time by as the pit window opens for laps 5 through 16. As you follow now along with Logan Clampett, he's currently about 5-6 truck lengths on average behind as he hits aggressively through the curbs, working his way out of the roller coaster and towards the hog pen and out of the hog pen. But you can see the difference with the runs. Both the Radicals Online trucks are looking pretty strong so far. So you look at your biggest movers so far. Justin Krutov has gained 4 spots. As you see, he's up to 8th spot. John Allen has fallen 3 spots. And right now, he is way off the pace in 11th spot right now on the racetrack.
I think he's just had a spin as well. We'll try and get a replay up here. And it's into the roller coaster, and yeah, just a self spin on his own. He's not having a good time of it out there, but the 22 keeps it out the wall, keeps it out the tyres, and keeps going here. Svein Kemets, look at how aggressive he is over those curbs. He's really throwing the back end of that truck around there, and he's really looks like he's struggling a little bit, or maybe he's just trying to find a way of getting that truck around those corners, trying to hook those curbs, but his teammate right behind, he's in close quarters here.
Yeah, and this is a very difficult portion of the track, all the way up the hill through the S's to the South Bend because of the amount of speed you can carry, the chances of unsettling the truck and spinning out of control into a wall. It takes a lot of guts, so to speak, to try and make your way up the track without having an incident.
Yeah,
for that part.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on there. It is one of the most difficult tracks I find to race around. But it's a rewarding track because when you get it right, it's just so you get that really good feeling. Zelensky running wide once again, and he's really struggling with that truck here today. We see a little bit of scuffing on his right-hand side as well, so clipping those curbs. You mentioned it off air, Justin. Clipping those curbs seems to be damaging the side skirts of these trucks.
Yeah, I've seen this once before at the old Pocono where you hit the curbs to a certain point because of how fast you go. It ends up damaging the side skirts. Bobby Zelensky strips around a little bit, but still keeps the position as he exits out of the horseshoe. Some of the damage, though, remember, he did have the contact on the first lap of the race with Marco Mogren when Mogren got loose to the horseshoe. As Sven Kammert's not being patient now, late braking towards the back of Zelensky, and very close quarters now as they work their way out towards the snake and heading towards the uphill S's.
This is fantastic to watch. These guys are on the limit here as they go flying past the camera there. Absolutely on the limit. This S is here. This is my favourite part of this track, by the way. Just to throw the vehicle over those curbs and hang on for dear life. That's what you do around there. But yeah, Kevin's really putting this pressure onto Zelensky. Zelensky, he's missing apexes. He's really struggling to get that truck onto the corners, and I think it's telling, although Kemet doesn't get the good run out of Oak Tree, and here comes his teammate.
Yeah, and he ended up going a bit too much to the inside, right by the big oak tree, and that allowed his teammate and Thomas O'Leary to gain up some time because of that. That lost him some time to Bobby Zelensky, but Zelensky has been also struggling here, and you can see exactly why as he trips his way to the roller coaster. He's off in the grass. Around goes Kammert's, O'Leary, and Clampett because of one mistake.
We'll get that up on replay then. Big moment for Zelensky. Oh, he was losing control going through the left. Couldn't get it slowed down enough into the grass. And he's decided to make it down onto pit road. So he's the first of the drivers onto pit road here in today's race. And he's been struggling today as Bobby onto his pit stall to get some fresh tyres. So maybe because of the amount of struggling that he was doing, he's decided, you know what, let's get some fresh rubber on, get maybe a fast lap at O'Leary. Yeah.
Thomas O'Leary, huge big save that time as he drifted and lost a spot to Logan Clampett. That was on the exit of NASCAR Bend where he almost went spinning across the racetrack, as you'll see on the race spot replay, where originally he was in the 3rd spot, and now because he had to lock up for his teammate, gets him in the grass, sends him sideways, a heck of a save.
Yeah, that is a change of underpants needed for him, that's for sure, after that one. But yeah, the last thing you want to do is hit your teammate. There's only one rule in motorsport, really, when it involves teammates: don't hit them. And he nearly did that with Sven, but kept it out of the back there. But he's now under pressure from Eric Blix, and he's trying to induce pressure onto Logan Clampett in front. Interesting to see how the rest of these trucks go for pit stops now, because with Bobby Zalenski making that pit stop, do they react to that and just come in this lap, or do they wait out a little bit longer so they have fresher tyres at the end of the race?
In your opinion, what's the best time to go into the pits now that, of course, Logan Clampett's now the first of those set drivers to go in the pits as Cameron strips a little bit for his exit and still pulls on away?
I would say if you're Sven Kamatz, come into pits now, react to what Bobby Zalenski has just done, and that's exactly what he's doing there. So too, Logan Clampett and Eric Blix onto pit road then. We've got a bit of a pit party here between 3 trucks, but I think this is the right move for Sven. React to what Bobby Zalenski's just done. He's your main championship contender. Oh, and he missed his pit stall!
And these are very small pit boxes here at VIR. Cameron ends up sliding through the pit box, and that could lose him about half a second. A great reaction, though, to get right back into reverse to slide back as Logan Clampett. He's off and away, and he's able to beat Sven Cameron out of the pits because of that mistake.
Yeah, that's big. That is absolutely big for Sven. Where on earth is Bobby Zalenski? He's just in the background there. That's how much time he lost with having that trip across the grass. And, well, you can see he's really dropped back from these guys. But Logan Clampett with the jump on Sven Kamatz there in your pits.
Yeah, Allen's now into the pits meanwhile. Thompson's been really struggling the past 3 or 4 laps, and was about to get to him because Thompson had gone off the grass 2 of the past 3 laps on the exit of the roller coaster, went off the grass just now and keeps himself out of the way. And remember, he was battling at one point for about that 8th position on the track, 9th position rather, and now he's just been absolutely struggling as the tires wear down. You see he lets everyone by.
Yeah, he did the smart thing there, trying not to come back right in the middle of those. By the way, Justin Krutov battling with James King here as they're headed into the roller coaster. Bobby Zalenski's made it past.
And Thompson almost spun around trying to let him on by too, so able to catch the truck. As you look at the battle up on your screen now, that again involves King, Krutov as well. Involved in that battle will be Martin Kapal. In the pits now, Marco Mogren and Thomas O'Leary also joins them.
Yep, so your front 2 onto pit road. I would imagine that James King will stay out, and he does. So James King will take the lead of this race here. Justin Krutov, Martin Kapal there onto pit road as well. So only 2 drivers. Always a pit stop here. Daniel Thompson and James King. Let's have a look. Sven Kamatz, he's putting the pressure on Logan Clampett to come across the line here. There's Thomas O'Leary out of pit road now. But these 2, this is the battle currently for 3rd place overall.
You can see Clampett trying to hold off Cameron, who's had a very good pace throughout the race today. They are 3/10 apart as they work their way through the course towards the NASCAR bend they go, and out of the NASCAR bend they go. The question is, when does Cameron try and make the move? Especially with Logan Clampett getting stronger and stronger as the race has gone on today here at Virginia International Raceway.
I don't know whether he needs to make the move. He's ahead of his championship rival by a bit of a margin as well. So definitely, Kamatz is in a good spot right now. James King, just the final one to make a pit stop. He still owes us that. We're waiting for him to head on down to pit road. So really, Kamats at the moment is in around about 3rd place overall once that pit stop happens, and he's really putting the pressure. Look at how tight he takes that Oak Tree corner out and down the hill now, and he's just in that draft. He's sitting in that draft at the moment.
Yeah, being patient right now, as you said, in a decent points position. Just outside the podium right now is Ben, as he continues to try and close up to Logan Clamp. At that time, getting late on the brakes and right to the back bumper of Logan Clamp just about as they exit the roller coaster and head their way through the hog pen. This is again turn 17 and 17A as Logan Clampet's off the track. James Keynes into the pits, and around goes Logan Clampett. Clampett spun around as he immediately gets back on the gas to get back going, but a huge mistake drops him to 7th.
Yep, let's have a look at that then on the replay. Hits the curb on the left, hits the curb on the right. That unsettles the truck. He gets onto the grass. He can't get on the power, and when he does, it spins him round. He's very lucky not to hit that Armco barrier there. Able to keep it going, but that's a huge mistake for Logan there. Down to 6th place, but he's right behind championship leader Bobby Zelensky.
Yeah, James Keynes, as mentioned, pit at the same time, and that lost Keynes a lot of track time. He's 25 seconds back to the leader. Logan Clampett, though, wants to get by Bobby quickly as he gets near side-by-side, working their way towards the snake. He backs off the gas as they work their way up the uphill S as they go to try and approach the South Bend and the Oak Tree, knowing that Zelensky has been having a very rough day here at the racetrack. You see the speed Clampett's picking up, but it's just trying to make sure he has enough space to get towards that back straightaway for the draft. Shifting down to 3rd, going from 126 down to the 100s before they head into the final bend for the Oak Tree before that big straightaway down to as low as 50 miles per hour.
You look at Zelensky, he's really getting the back end out on the power, and he's struggling with his tyres, but they're only one lap older, than Logan Clampett's tyres, so he definitely is just not enjoying his day around this Virginia International Raceway.
Yeah, remember, Zelensky pit after losing control right here in the roller coaster. This time he saves it, but he is still in a decent spot for the next lap. We should note in practice, Ben Kammertz had been drifting his way through that section of the racetrack and picking up time. You have to wonder if that is some of the thought process there with that, as Clampett continues to try and sort things out to try and get himself back into the top 5. With that, we'll go side by side. As pardon me, as we continue on with the action, I should really say just under 8 laps to go, with Clampett still on the back door to Bobby Zelensky.
Yeah, he's putting the pressure on here. He knows that Zelensky's been struggling, and Zelensky, I'm not used to saying this, but he's in 5th place, and he's looking like he might end up down in 6th place at this rate. But look at how close Clampett is getting at the moment. Putting all this pressure on here, and through this S's here. Look at Zelensky, look at Clampett. They're both switching, diving, losing the back end almost as they're heading into the S's, the uphill S's here. And Zelensky, look at how much movement there is in his truck. So far as Clampett, wow, well held.
And that was a huge save. He really ricocheted off the curbing there, and that lost him about 3/4 tenths because of that, and that shifts him away from the back of Bobby Zelensky, at least for now. But with that, let's go side by side here on RaceSpot TV. You're watching the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship Round 10 of 12 from Virginia International Raceway.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
averaging 0.10 gallons per lap.
Pit stop, add 5 gallons, change right side only.
Hitbox in 10, 9, 8, 1. Bingo. 10-4, adding 5 gallons, changing right side tyres.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sox Out Racing VA SuperTrucks Championship for round 10. As you might have seen in our side-by-side presented by Anwarn Design, Thomas O'Leary was able to make the pass heading into turn 1, the horseshoe, to move himself up to the 3rd spot. They nearly made some contact, but now he's trying to pull away from Eric Blixt as that Radicals Online truck trying to make it a 1-2-3 for the 2nd straight round. Also going on, Logan Clampett has passed by Bobby Zelensky, who continues to go into a drift fest through the roller coaster. He's been having a roller coaster full of time through the roller coaster. Or a mess, I should say, through the roller coaster, as he now drifts big time through the hog pen.
Yeah, you looking at his lap times, I'll just compare his lap times there at 53.7 for Logan Clampett, 55.3 for Bobby Zelensky. He is struggling out there, and if he's not careful, Matt Capel could actually catch him by the end of this race here.
And this is one of his first times, really, if not the first time, I should really say, here at VIR racing, let alone racing in a truck. So you gotta think, how much it takes to try and adjust to a new circuit that you've never been before, even with the amount of experience Bobby Zelensky has in multiple different series, as we now shift the battle towards Justin Krutzoff and James King.
Yeah, that's it takes a while to adjust to a new track, but really it's not favouring Bobby Zelensky really today. Something must be up. It might be a setup or something like that, but I know that feeling of when you're just not quite in the groove of a track, and this is a track that you do need to get in the groove of. You really do struggle, and that's what's happening here. One thing I am going to bring up here is a track map on screen. So you've got your leader 257, you've got the 66 truck of Sven Kamertz, and then you've got the number 1 truck of Bobby Zelensky. So that's just sort of like your championship contenders, really. Looking at the gaps between them, you can see that visualized on that track map there. So Mogren's coming across the start-finish line now, whereas Zelensky's just going into the roller coaster.
Yeah, and that is a big-time amount of difference, and shows the smoothness that Marco Mogren's had all day. He's up to a 9.7 second lead to Sven Kamertz and set the fastest lap time after his pit stop. That was a 150.7 as James King really has to save the truck going through the hog pen as they pass by now. It looks like that is Marta Capol's might have had some issues and dropped back some time here. Yeah,
it was down at the hog pen. Capel struggling. Clip that curb. That curb is dangerous. It unsettles your truck, and it dropped him down a position, down to 8th place in this one.
An unfortunate mistake, because he was starting to close up a little bit, as you mentioned, a bit to Bobby Zelensky. That gives Bobby Zelensky now a 5-second cushion to 7th place, with now Marta Capel shifted into the middle of the battle here. Under 5 laps to go now here at the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship for round 10. Let's look at your biggest movers and biggest followers of the race. Zelensky has lost 4 spots since the drop of the green flag. Justin Krutzoff has gained 5 spots since the race has started. Also dropping some spots has been James King and John Allen. Everyone else has been able to gain about 1 spot apiece.
Yeah, apart from Marco Mogren, who's just sat there at the front all race, so it's working out well for him. Just to quickly show Marco here, look at the gap there, 10.5 seconds. You look at the lap times, he's consistently almost a second a lap faster those last 2 laps over his teammate. So Mogren really is absolutely on fire here today around Virginia International Raceway. We'll go back to this battle, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah, you continue to see that shaping up. They're separated by about 2 truck lengths through the roller coaster right now. That is about a 0.6 of a second, make that 0.7 of a second gap between Krutov and Marta Kapal. But that can all change with one mistake to the hog pen, as we've seen a couple times today. It's 0.6 back from Kapal to James King, meanwhile, as they moved away down the front stretch for lap 16 of the races so far today. Just everyone really trying to fall into the tire tracks of the driver in front and try and gain some draft, especially since Zelensky is now losing about a second a lap to Logan Clampett and falling a second back to these drivers.
Yeah, he's really struggling, but Clampett is not quite close enough. We'll look at Clampett there. You can see Zelensky going through the left-hander there. Laps are running out here in this race. In fact, 4 to go. As the graphic changes there for me, thank you very much. Yeah, 4 to go for us here, and Krutov is just not quite close enough. You look at that 4.1, look at the lap gaps, look at the gains that he's made, but it's just not been enough for him to get close enough to Bobby Zelensky. So I feel that Bobby Zelensky is going to be finishing in and around that 6th place, unless he makes a mistake, which, and I can't believe I'm saying this, we've seen him make quite a few today.
And he's been just about dominant all season long in just about every single round for the 2018 season. This would be his worst finish, really, of 2018 with the 6th place if it sticks the way it goes. And he's one of the 2 currently eligible drivers for the Road to NASCAR program, as he goes a bit wide now to the roller coaster again and loses some more time there. This is the driver who is again 1st in the point standings and 7th in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing standings right now coming into today.
Yeah, he is not having a fun time out there today. 3 to go. And it's a question of, can he get it to the end here with the amount that he's been struggling into the roller coaster. And, you know, let's give credit though, and, you know, I know we've been focusing on Bobby and his struggles here today, but let's give credit to people like Marco Mogren, still imperious out the front. He's not really made a mistake. His fastest lap time, by the way, is, I'm just having a look at this, it's 1.1 seconds faster than anybody else in this race today.
Which is absolutely insane when you think about it. For all the Radicals online trucks, they're currently running 1, 2, 3. You look at the 2nd and 3rd place runners now, and Cameron and O'Leary. You have to wonder what has really helped them, especially in these past couple rounds. This is the chance now, coming towards 2 laps to go for a 2nd straight race of a 1, 2, 3 for Radicals Online.
It certainly is, and this is great for us because it's bringing this championship battle going in towards the final 2 last rounds. It brings this championship battle really alive here for us, so it's going to make great viewing as we head on after this one to Mid-Ohio. But this one isn't over yet, and Thomas O'Leary, they are teammates. I don't expect Thomas to make any moves on Sven because of Sven's involvement in the championship battle. But Thomas is pretty close to his teammate, even though technically he's actually a privateer. But let's not bring that up. But
yeah.
Closest battle on track is still James King, Matt Kapal.
Yeah, you'll shift over to that as Kapal's dropped off the back now of Krutov. As you continue to see...
Look at Zelensky. Look at how close... I've just noticed. Look at Zelensky. Look at how much time he's lost. A 56.1 that last lap. That's just unheard of. That lap time. And I'm going to compare it here. He was 2 seconds slower than Justin Krutov that last lap.
That's why I personally wasn't considering Justin Krutov out for trying to battle for the spot, because Zelensky, he's been really struggling, partly because every time he bounces off the curves, he's now starting to drift his way through. That was through the NASCAR bend. He cuts into the grass a little bit through the left hook, and towards the snake they go. But Justin Krutov could pass on by on the bell lap when the white flag comes out, possibly, if Zelensky makes one more mistake. I don't know if there's enough time for Marta Kapal on back.
It's going to be interesting to see. We'll have to wait and see how this one pans out. But the area that Zelensky has been struggling all day has been into that roller coaster section. By the way, whilst we're keeping an eye on this, Thomas O'Leary, he's having a look at his teammate here. He's wanting to get involved in this one a little bit. And he's almost getting into the back of his teammate there. So this battle for second place might actually be on, unless somebody from management gets on the phone and just goes, "Hey, come on, calm it down, please. We need the points." But we start at the final lap for your race leader, Marco Mogren.
Marco Mogren's taking the white flag at VIR as we shift back over to the battle where Bobby Zelensky works his way to the roller coaster. This time has one of his most stable runs to the roller coaster the entire run since its pit stop. As Justin Krutov just can't get quite there yet. He is about 3 truck lengths back as they head down the front stretch, make it 5 or 6 as Justin Krutov got loose, working his way through the hog pen. And that could keep Bobby Zelensky possibly in P6 because of that drift. Logan Clampett drifts out in front of them, but Logan Clampett is well ahead in the 5th spot right now as things continue to shape up everywhere on the racetrack for the battle for 2nd, for the battle as well for 6th spot.
Yeah, this battle for 6th spot, I think, is where it's all going to happen here. Look at Zelensky just getting bigger and bigger in the windscreen of this truck of Justin Krutov. Krutov is going to make a move. You can just smell that it's going to happen here. And, well, is it going to happen going into Oak Tree? We'll have to wait and see here.
Allen went off the racetrack for the roller coaster. He's off and away as the battle continues to shape up for this spot. Justin Krutov not in the best spot to make a move yet as he works his way up the S's. Up the hill he goes. Marco Mogren, meanwhile, is just working his way through the roller coaster, in fact, as Zelensky continues to hold on to the spot for now. Goes to the high side, working his way through Oak Tree. But the battle shifts towards to Marco Mogren. Marco Mogren has dominated from the drop of the green flag, has been the fastest truck of the day. He'll take the checker flag and win at Virginia International Raceway for a 1-2-3 for Radicals Online. And the battle for 2nd still shapes up between the teammates. Cameron and O'Leary will finish in 2nd, 3rd. Justin Krutov still keeping up to the back end of Bobby Zelensky as he tries to dig his way for the battle. Tries to close on up as they work their way through the hog pen. Can Zelensky hold on to 6th? Justin Krutov bounces off the curb. Zelensky drifts the back end. Justin Krutov really drifts the back end. And that will keep Bobby Zelensky to a 6th place finish today over Justin Krutov, with James King and Martin Kapal rounding out 7th all the way back to 9th.
Yeah, James King gained a position there at the end. Kapal run wide through that final hog pen turn. Gets it loose on the grass, did well to keep a hold of it as well, but is able to, James King able to jump ahead right at the end there.
And a heck of a race as a couple more drivers try and finish the runs. Daniel Thompson, he's had a rough day today, 47 seconds back of Marco Mogren in the 10th spot. Also having a rough day was John Allen. John Allen is just entering the roller coaster, while Daniel Thompson for Off-Camber Motorsports just tries to bring it home in one piece. He'll take the checker flag to finish in the 10th spot today, with once again John Allen being the last running truck on the circuit who is going to pass through the hog pen right about now. He had, like I mentioned before, a spin coming towards the white flag for himself, right nearby Marco Mogren. He finishes off the day in 11th. Shane Hunter is the only driver not to finish in this one, but a dominating one for Marco Mogren, as we mentioned. Fastest truck on the racetrack by 1.1 seconds, and fastest truck on the track for basically a second each lap today, Paul.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. Imperious, I think, is the word that I would use to describe Marco Mogren's run here today. And yeah, definitely been one to celebrate. Do the donuts, you've earned them today. And we'll get set to take you through your results.
Let's look through those said results here as Mogren has won his second race of 2018 in the V8 SuperTrucks Championship. He won the race today by 13.9 seconds over his teammate Sven Kemmerts. Then Thomas O'Leary, part of the privateer class, but also has affiliation with Radicals Online, makes it a 1-2-3 for the second week in a row after the race at the Brickyard. 14.1 seconds back. Eric Blix finished 20 seconds back and forth, with Logan Clampett getting a bit loose going through the horseshoe in the last lap, finishing in 5th. Bobby Zelensky just held on by 0.3 of a second over Justin Krutov to finish in the 6th spot after both trucks got loose heading towards the front straightaway, with James King, Martin Kapal, and Daniel Thompson rounding out the top 10. The final two trucks that raced today were John Allen and Shane Hunter. John Allen a minute and 43 seconds back to the race winner. 18 laps down with Shane Hunter. We hope that everything is well with him due after some of the issues for his personal side. But with that, it's been a lot of great action today in round 10 of the V8 SuperTrucks Championship from Virginia International Raceway. We'll take a quick break while you're watching RaceSpot TV and the iRacing eSports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Lee to the inside goes Logan Clampett is going to touch in. Pit crash sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Trunkgate goes off. De Jong into second place.
I'm going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
And wide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well. Welcome back to the coverage here from RaceSpot TV on the iRacing eSports network of the Socks Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship, and what a race that was for you today. We'll bring up the results again for you to have a look at. Marco Mogren taking the victory here today ahead of Sven Kamertz in second place. Thomas O'Leary making it Radicals 1, 2 and 3. Eric Blixt and Logan Clampett 4th and 5th, with Zelensky down to 6th place in this race. Justin Krutov 8th with James King 9th. Martin Capel in 9th place, should I say. Daniel Thompson rounding out the top 10, and then the final two runners in this race, John Allen and Shane Hunter. So that is the results here, and well, my name is Paul Smith. Unfortunately, Justin has had to disappear off to another engagement, so I'm afraid you're left with myself here. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring, first of all, for an interview, your race winner here, and it is Marco Mogren. And Marco, I would say talk about your race there, but really, apart from going into turn 1, lap 1, you were checking out up front.
Yeah, for turn 1 was a bit exciting and nerve-wracking, but the rest of the race was just plain sailing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. Just talk us through that start then, because those tyres are not really up to temperature because it's a slow pace lap here. So you've really got to judge your braking right, and the back end will want to just kick around on you as well into that horseshoe.
Yeah, it really does. I really wanted to be ahead of Bobby into turn 1, and obviously broke a bit too late, locked up a bit, car got loose, I go into Bobby, and I don't know, the car really changes when the pressures go up though, and feels a lot more stable. So
well, what was the challenge for you then in this race? Was it just keeping focused, making sure that you didn't make any mistakes? Because this track, it is a very challenging track.
Yeah, this track really isn't just driving it home, even if you have a bit of an advantage, because catching a curb wrong or just going off throttle a little too eagerly, you go off and you can end your own race. So I really had to remind myself of just keeping focused, so I didn't do race-ending mistakes. I went off one time, and yeah, that really woke me up.
Well, you were that far ahead, we didn't see you going off once. But talking about the team though, again, it's another whitewash of the podium for Radicals Online. What is it that's changed in these last few rounds that's really sort of clicked with you in this truck?
I think it's me and Sven really getting to know each other, and probably finding advantages from each other's driving styles and putting it into the setup. So that probably is part of it, and yeah, it's probably plenty of practice too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Practice makes perfect. Before we let you go then, just 2 more rounds coming up. Mid-Ohio is next one, and then the one after that is the finale at Bathurst. How do you feel going into those final 2 rounds?
I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great tracks to race, I think, especially Bathurst, considering what it is, the challenge of it. And yeah, I hope we can get 1 or 2 more wins, and hopefully challenge Bobby for the championship.
Well, that's the hope, but well, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick mention and a thank you to?
Obviously my teammates Tomo and Sven for working on the setup, and our sponsors, Graphic Simulation or Ring Timing, Arma, Aster Sim Race, the podcast MOATF, Six Sideways, and Simortal Sim Racing Models.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Marco, and congratulations on the victory here today.
Thank you, Paul.
So that's Marco Mogren then, race winner, and we'll bring in second placed man in this race, Sven Kemerts. And Sven, I was saying to Marco about how he was able to pull away at the front there. You couldn't really pull away in that one. You were involved in a battle. Just talk us through how that went for you.
Yeah, I completely missed the start. I don't know, I'm a bit dreaming, I guess, and the green dropped, everyone moved forward, and only then I realized I have to press the throttle. So that wasn't too great. But yeah, it was really difficult to try and overtake Bobby at the start. Eventually got lucky with the small mistake he made at the end of the back straight, and that really helped me to get a bit ahead again and get a bit of clear air. But yeah, it was definitely not an easy race at all. It's a very challenging track. The first time for myself here as well. So overall, second place, I can be quite happy with that.
Absolutely, and you had Thomas O'Leary behind you, but in that early battle, you also had Logan Clampett and Eric Blix sort of hanging around as well. So was it helpful to you to have Thomas behind that you could maybe talk to and know where he's going to be positioned in his truck?
Yeah, I was indeed relatively safe with Thomas behind, so I didn't have to worry as much about just the truck coming down the inside without any reason whatsoever. But
although saying that, he was getting a little bit close towards those final 2 or 3 laps there. Was that a bit of, I'm quicker than you, but I'm going to hang behind, or was he genuinely going for it?
Well, that was the last 5 laps. There was like a few tenths a lap just because I had 1 lap older tires that he was able to close up. But I mean, I think I could have made a move past, but he was also realizing that making a move fast and could have been quite a risky thing to do as well. So late in the season.
Well, you mentioned that it's late in the season. 2 rounds to go. I've asked Marco how he feels going into those final 2 rounds. What about yourself? How do you feel going into them?
Should be very interesting. So it's indeed going to come down to the final 2 races of the season. Everything will be decided then. So Mid-Ohio, not my favorite track, but I've done a few laps with the B car a few weeks ago, which wasn't too bad to get around. And Bathurst is always a challenge just to get around the track itself. So regardless of what car, so both of them will be very interesting to race and watch.
Well, Sven, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth, and congratulations on your second place. Okay, so that's Sven Kemerts there, and we'll bring another Radicals Online driver here. He is classed as a privateer, but he is part of the team, Thomas O'Leary. And Thomas, it's a 1-2-3 again for Radicals. You were getting pretty close to your teammate there. Were you thinking of making a move into those final few laps, or was it a case of just hanging back and making sure that you got the 1-2-3?
I think if Marco was a little bit closer, definitely possible to catch him if I got past Sven. But because the gap was so large, it didn't feel like worth risking up the inside and make him.
Just having a few issues with your microphone there, Thomas. I'll let you maybe try and sort that. But you've come in part way through the season. We saw you first, I believe it was at Silverstone. We saw you first taking part in the series. How have you been finding it? What's your thoughts been on this series?
You hear me now? Oh, you
yes,
can hear me
I
now.
Can hear
perfect.
you now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Silverstone was my first race. I've done this in the truck before, but I'm really getting the hang of it now, and I think next season I think I'm definitely in with a shot of doing well.
Absolutely, but third place today, you must be pleased with that and pleased with how the season is closing out for yourself and the team.
I was pleased with the pace in the car. I think Marco and Sven did a really good job on the setup this week. The balance was perfect, and towards the end of the race I could really push on the rear tyres and get the best out of them. But just being stuck at the start behind Bobby and Sven and just through the race sort of making small mistakes that cost me time really sort of... I didn't think I did as well as I could have done.
Well, Thomas, third place here today. Congratulations and all the best going forward to Mid-Ohio.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so Thomas Leary there, Thomas O'Leary, should I say, finishing 3rd place. Now we do look towards your challenges for the Hard Charger Award. Now the man who made the most positions in this race is Justin Krutov, and Justin hopefully joins us right now. And Justin, you're in with a shot of the Hard Charger Award and the most positions gained in this race. Just talk us through that race and your march through the field there.
Well, it didn't start well. The qualifying was poor. I hit off tracks on both laps, so I started dead last. And then was so flustered from that, I forgot to change setup, so I started the race with 3 pounds too much in the tires. So that whole first stint was just a slide fest. And it just was damage control at that point. And I think I made a couple decent passes, but it was not fun. It was very frustrating for me.
I was going to point out about this Virginia International Raceway. Just how tricky was it to make any moves around this track in this truck?
It's very difficult. I noticed that the last 2 laps I was faster than Bobby, but there's just nowhere that you could reliably make a move without making some contact or, you know, giving up some time to the guys behind. It was very tough to try to balance that with trying to move forward.
Well, that's it. You're into that final 2 laps. You're concentrating on Bobby in front, but you've got James King and Martin Capel right behind. So it is a case of maybe working out the percentages and thinking this is a good result still, considering where I started and how the first part of my race went. And you play the percentages that way and maybe not making that move on Bobby.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, I probably could make a risky move and get by Bobby, but you're only talking about gaining 1 position and possibly risking 3. It's really not worth it at that point.
Well, you are going to be up for the Hard Charger Award this time round. And is there anyone you want to thank whilst you're here in the commentary booth?
I got to thank Socks Out Racing for putting it on, and Race Spot for showing it, and Punta Clara Kitchen for riding on the truck with us.
Well, thank you very much, and all the best for Mid-Ohio.
Thank you very much.
So that's Justin Krutov there as well. Now, our other choice for Hard Charger is Logan Clampett. Myself and Justin chose, but I don't see him around for an interview, so I will get one final interview here, and I do appreciate him stopping by. Bobby Zelensky joins us, and is it safe to say it wasn't the best day at the office for you today?
It'd be safe to say that was the worst day in the office I've ever had in this series. Yeah, that wasn't the funnest. I've never sat there and just wanted the race just to end, but yeah, well, that wasn't too good.
Well, I mean, you had an opportunity right at the start with Marco Mogren making a little mistake into turn 1, so you had that opportunity to maybe get past there, but ever since there, it just seemed like you weren't quite hooking up with the course in this truck today.
Yeah, the issues from the last race with the setup were more glorified in this weather, I think. So I really need to get my stuff together for the next race, because you know, setup has been one thing, never had an issue with. I just get the car comfortable and just go out there and be able to drive. But today that was the worst thing I've ever drove. It would just start pogo sticking randomly. It would just kind of start sliding when you weren't really pushing it. It was, yeah, on a hot lap, you could kind of suppress it and kind of just deal with it. And I qualified really good. That was a really good lap. I just kind of pulled it out of nowhere. Hadn't got a lap close to that for the whole event. And but for the race pace, that thing it would just get worse every lap because of the issues. Just kill the tires, and I really had no shot to just contend. It was pretty lame. But you know, 2 races to go. Took a hit in the championship lead. Pretty good chunk taken out. I just got to get my stuff together and, you know, rebound and go for the win next week.
And well, we'll look forward then. Well, I've asked the other 2 of Marco and Sven. I'll ask yourself, Mid-Ohio, And then Bathurst, how are you feeling going into those final 2 rounds? Are there courses that you enjoy, or is it going to be a little bit of work? Luckily, you had last season at Bathurst for the experience of the truck, maybe not with these setups now, but in terms of getting the racing around there.
Yeah, so like the next 2 tracks I have a lot of experience at, which is great. You know, these last 2 I didn't have so much, especially today's. This is like the first time ever racing here. But I didn't feel like my driving around here was too bad. I thought it was pretty decent. So it's just going to come down to the setups for the next races, but I think it helps. That Mid-Ohio is a really good track for me. Bathurst, pretty good track for me. If I can get the setups, you know, sorted out, just get the handling of the car sorted out so it doesn't start bouncing around randomly, I'll be very happy. And but yeah, they're fun tracks. I mean, Mid-Ohio is I can foresee a lot of brawling and side-by-side racing there, so I'm looking forward to those ones.
Well, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick mention to?
Yep. Shout out to the winner, Marco. Yeah, shout out to everyone that puts the series on. Shout out to the sponsor on the car, Virtual to Reality TV and Payday GG, as well as Virtual Racing School. And thanks you guys at RaceSpot for putting on the show.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and all the best going forward to Mid-Ohio. So that was Bobby Zelensky then, your 6th place man, championship leader. And well, before we head off, we've just got a few thank yous to make here from RaceSpot TV. Of course, commentary was brought to you. Lead commentator was Justin Prince. Myself, Paul Smith, our co-commentary, and did the camera work as well. Our overlay design brought to you by Andreas Werner from And Design. Development of graphics engines by Simon Grossman from appgeneering.com, who bring you their ATIVO product. And live timing and scoring, as always, is brought to you by Nick Thiessen. And well, what an event it was here today in the SuperTrucks Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship here at Virginia International Raceway. 2 more rounds to go in this championship. Who's going to win this championship? It's all coming to a head here in the series. You do not want to miss a moment of the action. But from myself, Paul Smith, from Justin Prince as well, here on the iRacing eSports Network, it's good night.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.